How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. So we kind of cut off in the last episode here in a little bit of a flashback to what Oishi-san was telling us. First, he kind of told us the story of Rena, how she kind of ended up back in Hinamizawa, and how she might be just a little, just a tad bit crazy. I don't think she's full-blown crazy, but I could be totally wrong, and I actually think I am. You know what? I am wrong. She is crazy. So we kind of heard how she kind of, I guess, had her meltdown and literally harmed 3 other classmates and then broke a bunch of windows and then talked about Oyashiro-sama. And now we're kind of, I guess, looking back on how Hinamizawa had a different name back then, and here we are with his explanation. And flashback aside, we just got done being chased by Rena, who has a hatchet, which is always fun. This will be the final episode, so I don't know how long this will be, and it will be longer if I continue to ramble, so let us continue to dive in. And if you guys are watching this as it comes out, then happy Halloween.
で、鬼ヶ淵は神聖な土地なので絶対に不可侵。むやみに立ち入るとお社様のたたりがある。
Those who set foot in Onikafuchi, in other words Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I could understand that.
それはわかります。でも出ていくのまでダメってのは。
鬼たちもまたですね。属性に出ていかないようお社様に厳しく見張られていたんだとか。つまりお社様ってのは属性と鬼ヶ淵の交流を禁じていたんでしょうな。
I see. I finally understood what sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was. Good, because I don't.
つまり、お社様ってのは守り神ってよりも監視者なんですね。この地を外界から隔離しようとする。
そんな感じになるんでしょうな。すみません。私も詳しくないんです。この辺りはばあ様の受け売りでして。
I could understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came to Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So because Rena originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed.
つまり、レナは望まない引っ越しをしたため、お社様のたたりにあったと、そう話しているわけですか。
要約すると、そういう意味なんでしょうな。実際、この後しばらくしてHinamizawaに引っ越していますから。
Those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then why only Rena? Shouldn't Rena's parents also have been guilty of the same transgression by moving away and have been cursed? Also, in this day and age in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then it'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there would be one person dying and one disappearing on the day of the Watanagashi. Did I say that right? Watanagashi. I was mixing up the ta and the na before and saying when not. Wait, how would I say it? I don't even know anymore. I'm trying to say it properly. I suck with pronunciations. I don't know how many times I've used that excuse in this playthrough. I don't like saying it most though.
まあ、とにかくわからないことだらけなんですよ。お社様のたたりがどうだったにせよ、クラスメートを金属バットで殴った理由にはなりませんし、被害者が訴えない理由にもなりません。まさか、前原さんも恐ろしいたたりが起こって、被害者たちがすくみ上がった、なんてこと、信じるわけないですよね。
Well, shit. Anything could be possible. All things considered. And of course, I didn't want to believe it. But more importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Rena made between Oyashiro-sama's curse and metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I had recently learned that Satoshi, had also become infatuated with the metal bat right before he disappeared, just like me. And then Rena as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. And the weapon which she had used at the time of the horrendous act was, again, a metal bat. And finally, me. I'd encountered various things that were inexplicable, and now I was holding on to a metal bat. I also noticed that connection, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, in my head thinking, man, there's a lot of metal bats being used here. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. It couldn't be. Had the same thing happened to Rena. But there was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Rena was still here. Both of them had fallen victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. And finally me. I couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Rena, Satoshi, and finally me. Could it be that I really was under Oyashiro-sama's curse right now? No, more importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace. Rena was fine. Fine? Yeah, Rena had undergone a change. I can only believe that there was something that that wasn't Rena residing within her, excuse me. Nah, she crazy. And here right now, it was standing before me. Yeah, are we done with the thinking and the flashbacking and all that?
教えてくれ。俺はどうなるんだよ。
Rena stood imposingly, not answering.
サトシは消えた。だけどレナは消えなかった。じゃあ俺はどうなるんだよ。
That's a good answer. I had never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. Man, we heard that shit like 10 times in the last episode. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice or an expression of feeling.
大丈夫だよ。
Oh no, I'll worry.
レナが助けてあげるから。
Oh, I doubt it. I love the color red. Rena took one step forward, still holding the hatchet high above her head.
さあ。
One step closer. Rena's face spread out to fill my vision.
話して。
Speak? Are we a dog? Is that what you want us to do? Is that what will save us if we, do kinky shit? One step closer. Rena's nose was close enough to touch mine, and was still pushing closer.
話したいことがあるんだよね。レナが聞いてあげる。
Is there something we want to say?
助けてあげるから。ね。話してね。話してね。
I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get as far away from Rena. It's a lot of laughter. A little bit exaggerated, too. I had the gut feeling that I couldn't let her laughter end. Because when that laughing ended, not ends. The moment I picked up on that feeling, my body moved by instinct. I sprang to my feet so fast, even I couldn't believe. Oh, well, okay. And pushed Rena away with both my hands. Yeah, that's what happened. Rena was as light as a feather. Thrown about by the unbalanced weight of the hatchet, she was sent backwards as if she had been carried off by the wind. After confirming that out of the corner of my eye, I dashed off at full speed. Where are we getting this shit? Where are we getting this energy? We were about to, die from exhaustion last time. I was the perfect picture of fleeing like a greased pig. Get away from Rena. Run away. Survive. I couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered I'd been holding onto a bat the entire time. Ah, yes, the weapon we prepared for ourselves but never used. Such a worthless weapon. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about this weapon at such an important time. A lot's happening. I sped even farther down the winding path. I didn't even feel myself gasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. My body understood it as well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't live. I could hear the laughter of that, of Rena coming from behind me. Simulacrum? What? Again, this game loves to just test my vocabulary of the English language. It rang through the trees and in my head and slowly chiseled away at my sanity. Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me. The grove of trees thinned out and my field of vision suddenly expanding. Of course we're here. Of course we're here. Where was this? For a moment I was bewildered by the scenery I felt I knew but couldn't quite remember. I quickly realized it was the dam site. The fact that I dashed madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of my surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul here. And this was a terrible spot for someone on the run, but there was no better place for an attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. The muscles in my legs were screaming, but I didn't care. If I stopped here, then they might not even be able to scream for much longer. I was like, who's they? But yeah, the legs. Yeah, our legs are the ones that are screaming. Even still, I glanced back, looking for an excuse to rest. Rena wasn't there. Instead, I saw 2 villagers walking around. I breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't Rena but a third party. Except the voice inside me rang the alarm once again. Villagers walking around weren't suspicious in and of themselves, but it bothered me. They both wore rough-looking clothes. Empty-handed, they definitely gave the impression that they were just out for a walk. But at this time of day, 2 adults wandering around without a purpose, it was enough to raise questions. But more than anything else, those eyes. They weren't chit-chatting while walking, they were both silent, heading forward, looking in my direction. Was I at the end of my rope and had finally started imagining things? I should run away. And that was probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. If they were part of the group after me, then they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Rena would catch up with me. That's right, I was going to run. Deciding that, the moment I began to turn tail, both of them rushed towards me as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Damn, this is literally the whole village against us sort of deal. We're gonna die. We're dead. Somewhere inside me, I had jumped to the conclusion that Rena was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need to fear anything else. But right now, I realized just how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly, the story Oishi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey floated through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming after me, without even turning around because of their frenetic footsteps. It was frightening, being unable to shake Rena off as she slowly closed in on me, but this didn't even compare. Being pursued with such violent ferocity, this straightforward horror was unparalleled. One of the pursuers' arms grazed my shoulder. Now it wasn't just their frenzied footsteps, but also the distinct sound of their breathing that I could hear. No, I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. No, it felt like time itself had stopped. What is this wild ability that he's been able to use now twice? I turned my head back slightly in that frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. In less than the time it would take to blink twice, when this frozen time began moving again, they'd be right on top of me. And then... Don't think about that, Keiichi. First, realize that you won't be able to shake them off like this. If the fact that you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg or go with the left. You just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment I decided that, the temporal singularity burst into pieces. Right, left. I swung the bat in a wide arc with my right arm. Using that inertia, I stopped and suddenly spun.
No!
The 2 of them were clearly startled. Momentarily losing sight of me, both of their outstretched arms, ready to grab me, instead grasped at empty space. The man on the right, I applaud him for being able to figure it out, spun around to the spot I shouldn't have been, and faced me in astonishment. But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms as I turned around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. But just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. He got back up in no time. Both of them took a fighting stance and were ready to face me. This made me certain they weren't just 2 people out for a walk. They were clearly after me. It felt much easier than dealing with Rena. Just by not recognizing their faces, by not knowing them, it made things easier. I smiled wryly on the inside. It's fine if it was just a bluff. By barking out at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out to either side of me with unbelievably calm expressions on their faces. One of them would grab onto my bat and the other would hold me down. Was that their plan? Taking on both of them at once would be impossible. Hot sweat poured from every pore in my body. Then I'd just have to settle it with the first move. I'd step in and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right, who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way for an unarmed person to guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked it with their arm, their bone would snap like a twig. If they turned their back to it, then it was possible that the blow would travel all the way to their vital organs. It looked like he was aware of this. He pushed farther through the kill zone between us and delivered a fist right into my gut. Not good. With this distance, in this position, and in this state, there was no way for me to dodge it. Damn. Now that was a hit. The world flipped upside down. I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll. I landed on the soft earth without a sound, feeling the grainy soil press against my face. It didn't hurt at all. But the moment I thought that, I suddenly felt pain coming from my abrasions on my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, flooding my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well that I didn't have the time to relish this experience. I stood up as quickly as I could, but at that moment the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it made it all the more upsetting. After plowing into my stomach full force once again, my assailant twisted around behind me and locked his thick arm around my neck. My throat felt like it was being crushed by his immense strength. So we're gonna die for real now, right? I couldn't even contemplate that I was being strangled or that I was about to go unconscious. My vision simply darkened and a silent whining noise began playing deep inside my mind. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. While this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I wasn't able to open my eyes, but I could feel that he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake his arm, or this arm off of me, I couldn't run. I couldn't fight back. Dire straits. I couldn't even come up with the phrase that adequately described my situation. Excuse me. I am thirsty. Please give me a moment to get a drink. Ah, yes. The end of that chapter. I can't wait to see what happens next. And good thing we don't have to wait, because it's going to happen. I feel like we're going to die. I feel like death will come hitting us right in the face. Or the stomach. That seems to be happening a lot, the hits to the stomach. A familiar ceiling. The smell of the bed and pillows. I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When I did that, pain shot throughout my entire body.
大丈夫かな?
No.
横になってた方がいいと思うよ。
Why was Rena in my room? Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries. But Rena's smile belonged to the Rena I knew well. I knew I shouldn't God damn it. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed thinking that this version of Rena was safe.
俺はどうして？
覚えてないの？
意識がなくなってからのことは全然。
My body had become more lethargic than I ever could have imagined. I guess that would be the expected outcome after exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my head, but I just couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind.
一応お医者さんにも電話したから、もうすぐ来ると思うよ。それまで横になってた方がいいと思うな。
I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor. We got punched in the gut twice, and probably hurt in some other areas too. I'm not really sure. Like, I'm pretty sure it'd be good to get a checkup here. But knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring.
俺どうしてここにいるんだ？確かダム現場で。
それはレナが聞きたいな。ね 何があったのかな。レナが行った時にはケイチ君倒れてて。
だから聞きたいのは俺の方だよ。変な二人組に襲われて。
As I talked about it, I finally remembered what happened right before I passed out. Recalling that memory and the terror that went along with it caused the fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those two for now. I didn't expect Rena to be nursing me. I thought Rena was trying to kill me. She would have the perfect chance while I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, she had nursed me back to health, so she's gonna kill us herself. Like, it's gonna be at her hands that does it. While we're at perfect health and not expecting it, she's going to murder us right here. Looking at Rena's delicate frame, it was hard to believe that she had not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way up to the second floor. Did she have some help? We were unconscious. Rena appeared a bit surprised, but still kept her smile. I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I lost consciousness.
二人組はどうした？レナが来た時、俺と一緒に、あるいはそばに二人組の男が。
いなかったよ。
She said it bluntly. The way she stated it felt slightly unpleasant. I was just too timid at the time. I might have been able to force some answers out of Rena, but if I did that, then this kind of Rena might transform into the scary Rena who I didn't know. Fearing that, I didn't press any further. Thinking about it, it was the obvious choice. If both of those men were there, I don't think Rena would even have stood a chance. Well, she had a hatchet, so I don't know. I couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed she brought me here after those two were already gone. Rena was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly. Yet, I felt like I was hallucinating when I saw something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across her face. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Rena was still Rena, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Ueshi-san. Rena stopped me when I tried to get out of bed. She said it would aggravate my wounds, so I should sleep.
トイレに行きたいんだけどな。
ごめん。
Rena couldn't say anything else. So I guess we really are at home, shit. While Rena stayed in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell rang, ding dong. It must have been the doctor Rena had called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making a house call. But it would be incredibly reassuring to have him here for the considerable time it would take Ueshi-san to get here. I carelessly opened the door with that simple assumption, and regretted it almost instantly. Who's here? Uh-oh.
ミオン。
あれ？元気そうだね。倒れてたって言うから様子見に来たんだけど。
We did more than collapsed.
なんで俺が倒れてたって知ってるんだよ。
レナが電話してきたから。他に理由が必要？
I understood why she would call a doctor. But why Mion too? Yeah, after everything that, went down, I'm even very surprised that Rena's even nursing us back to health. Unless, like I said, she's just doing it to murder us. Rena was descending the stairs behind me.
レナ、ケイちゃん大丈夫そうだよ。たく、心配して損した。
そうだね。レナも心配して損したかな。
They both began laughing. It appeared to be cheerful laughter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a darkness looming over them.
うわ、なにこの下駄箱。どうしてたの？
The shoe rack that I'd smashed to pieces had been like that since yesterday.
転んでさ、その拍子に持ってたバットで叩いちゃったんだよ。
持ち慣れないもん振り回してるからこういうことになるんだよ。
Well, that's why we were practicing our swing. I kept the fact that it was none of their business to myself.
でもこれじゃおばさまたちが帰ってきたらびっくりしちゃうね。
Oh yeah, definitely.
後でレナが片付けておくね。
さあ、ほらケイちゃん。重病人なんだからちゃんと寝てないとダメだよ。
Again, not really sure we're terminally ill, but we did get hit in the gut. And I don't exactly have experiences, getting hit in the gut, but I'm pretty sure it's painful.
さあさあ、お布団に戻った。
Like, you're gonna feel it. For a while. Both of them urged me up the stairs. I had no chance to call Ushi-san. I was pushed into my bed. As it was the first time Mion had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. She fiddled around my room and was scolded by Rena. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around, but the conversation was so benign that it was heartwarming. During that innocent conversation, Mion said something as though it was perfectly ordinary. There's like a mosquito in my room and
レナ、
bothering me.
監督には電話した？
みーちゃんに電話した後すぐにね。すぐ来るって言ってたよ。
Director? That out-of-place word gave me a bad feeling. Rena called a doctor, and then called Mion. And after that she called a director? Who was this director? Since Rena and Mion's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd.
二人とも何の話をしてるんだよ。監督ってなんだよ。
ケイちゃん死んないの？監督って言ったら監督だよ。
That literally tells me nothing. You have explained even less to me than I wanted.
工事現場の監督とか。
Yeah, we're fucked. We're fucked. I dug through all the memories for a director who might have business with me. Only one thing came to mind. What Rena had just said. The construction site foreman. The very first victim of the first incident. The dismemberment at the damn construction site. The foreman. But that was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There was no way they could call him.
お前らが何の話をしてるのかわからないよ。その監督が俺と何か関係あるのか？来るって言ったけど、うちに来るのか？
I asked one obvious question after another, but all the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. That was a huge difference between how the two of them appeared and how my suspicions were playing out. Slowly I felt discomfort and panic welling up inside me. I couldn't understand what Rena and Mion were talking about.
ケイちゃん、最近は野球に凝ってるんだよね。
Kinda.
監督、それ聞いたら喜ぶと思うな。
Oh, fuck.
だから監督って誰だよ。
I have such a bad feeling. Like, seriously.
監督は監督さんだよ。
だから監督って誰だよ。
I feel like this is a cult thing that's happening here. Yeah. Rena and Mion looked at each other and laughed haughtily. That disturbing cackle unpleasantly resounded around me. Yeah, that is a mosquito that's flying around. Damn. I guess it's, better than a fly. I always worry about like a bug or something flying right in front of my microphone. That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly.
そうだ。監督が来る前に済ませとくかな。
Finish up what?
ケイちゃん、覚えてるかい？
I don't remember anything. Her face was laughing, but Mion's eyes told a different story.
覚えてるって何をだよ。
ケイチくん忘れちゃったのかな。罰ゲームなんだよ。
What?
罰ゲームなんだよ。
Again, what?
忘れちゃったのかな。おはぎの宿題。
Oh.
どれがレナの作ったおはぎかを当てる宿題。あれ、確か宿題忘れだったよね。
I certainly did have that homework. But I had thrown away the rest of the mochi after I found that sewing needle. So I wasn't able to answer which one Rena made. The penalty for that? Why now? A bit ago I was gonna say, like, man, it's so awesome to kind of, get that feeling that everything's normal, you know, we're just chilling with our friends and everybody's happy and being silly and all that. Well, that quickly went out the fucking door. No doubt my question was written all over my face. Their answer to my question was that dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think that this entire day was somehow insane, strange, incomprehensible, being chased by Rena, attacked by strange men. The pad only Mion and Rena were talking about. So we're just gonna die? Is that the penalty? What were these two laughing at? It didn't take that long for me to realize I'd been dragged into an abnormal situation. Oh yeah? Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Rena and Mion? Rena had gotten behind me at some point. Why was she pinning my arms behind my back?
何の真似だよ。
動かないでね。罰ゲームだから。
Oh no, we're gonna get circumcised. My body was already very sluggish, and Rena pinning my arms made it that much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. My panic began to well up, and I realized this was well beyond the realm of jokes and pleasantries. This freakish, monstrous strength, it would have been impossible for Rena that I knew, or for the Rena that I knew. Then these thin, frail arms grasping me firmly. Whose arms were they?
ケイちゃん、抵抗しちゃダメだよ。海賊大何条でもいいや。罰ゲームに抵抗しちゃダメなんだからさ。
Mion. No, the thing that looked like Mion spoke to me like how Mion would speak to me. But I was certain that this was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who was just pretending to be Mion.
監督が来る前に済まさないとね。
What, did they have to kill us first? Mion fished in her pockets and pulled out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking, but for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it. What was it?
なんだよ、それ。
It was a small syringe. It was a small clear syringe, the kind a doctor might use if you went to them with a high fever. Rena held me even tighter, and I could hear that clattering laughter that no longer sounded like laughter blaring into my ear. That eerie laughter, it wasn't something that Rena I knew, or that the Rena that I knew, could ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Rena, was this their real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer, and that needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times.
大丈夫大丈夫。痛くないから痛くないから。
何をする気だよ。これは一体何の真似だよ。
ケイちゃん、何言ってんだか。分かってんでしょ。
No, I really don't. I am so confused.
何が
I'm pretty sure we're gonna get drugged up and all that, and some cult shit is gonna happen.
俺には何が何やらさっぱりわからねえよ。
That's seriously what it kind of feels like.
知ってるくせに。今さらかまととぶられてもな。
わけのわからないことを言って俺を煙に巻くのはやめろ。
富武さんと同じ目に遭ってもらう。
Ah, oh, well, fuck. Okay. The same as Tomitake-san. I didn't really understand what she meant. What did that have to do with the syringe? It's gonna make us go crazy, isn't it?
とぼけてるね。うすうすは気づいてたくせに。
Rena whispered into my ear, laughing as if to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive beyond compare. Playing dumb? Me? About what? What do you mean, the same as Tomitake-san?
みんな初めはひき逃げされたものだと思っていました。ですが、意識を確かめるために近づいた警官はすぐに異常に気づきました。喉がね、引き裂かれていたんですよ。
ナイフとか
Nope.
爪でした。
Nails? Nails as in fingernails? With those, gouged through? That's right. Tomitake-san had clawed out his own throat with his own nails and died. There's no way someone could die like that. So then for that to happen...
薬物を疑いましたが、そういう類のものは検出できませんでした。
Then what are they planning on injecting into us? Because I mean, based on what Oishi-san had said, I had never, really given too much of it as a thought for Tomitake-san to have been drugged. I mean, sure, maybe something not identifiable, but is there really something like that could be done? That's right. The police didn't find any drugs in Tomitake-san's system. But there was a tip related to this, I'm pretty sure.
警察は富武さんの遺体から薬物は検出できなかったって言ったぞ。
Whatever that noise is. The two of them laughed together with that sickening laughter. Of course they'd laugh. To assume that such a medicine didn't exist just because the police didn't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning the drug that caused Tomitake-san to die in such a bizarre manner did exist. If Mion injected this into me, then that would probably be all the proof I needed. That would basically mean I'd end up the same as Tomitake-san. Become hysterical, scratching out my throat in my last moments, and then die. For such an outrageous drug to exist, for Mion to be holding it, and that I was about to be injected with it. At that moment, I did not feel there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball flying straight for his face, has time to think of a reason as to why it's flying at him?
観念しなって。んじゃ。
Mion's actions lacked any gravitas. Whatever. These goddamn words. And that made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremony like when someone is sentenced to death. There was no hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. Mion reached out with one hand and grabbed onto my chest. It felt like electricity had run through the back of my head, and the entire world had gone dark. Did I stand up too fast? Or did someone hit me really hard in the back of the head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. So we are gonna die. Tight. I thought it was gonna be gruesome murder, but I guess, this could technically be the same. We're gonna die a very horrific death, I'm pretty sure. How much more is there left? These chapters are getting really short. They're cutting straight to the point. What else could there be left? We're gonna die now, right? I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, my entire room had changed drastically. The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly I could tell blood was flowing to my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? How many minutes? Or has it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time passed. Really? The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before, only a dull silence. Rena wasn't there pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be? All of it was a hallucination. There was no other presence in the room besides my own. It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. I was certainly with Rena and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized with some sort of comfort. I guess that terrible ordeal was a hallucination. Neither Rena nor Mion, they wouldn't ever do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Why? That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? I don't understand. I don't understand. Kind to everyone. Not discriminating against age or gender. Mion. That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Oh, she's dead. Blood stained her a deep red from her head down to her chest. The bright crimson smeared on the walls. That splatter had undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had that bright smile, and was kind to me from the day I transferred. Rena, she's dead too, isn't she? That same Rena was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. I couldn't comprehend what had happened. Did someone come to save me? Then they beat these two down with this metal bat? I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? Are we holding the bat? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red, and there was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. I was the only person in the house. Therefore, come on, piece it together here. Come on, Keiichi. Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it.
俺がやったのか?
That's right. Keiichi Maibara. Of course I did it. I told myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me. There is no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you?
でも、違う。こんなに...
Neither Rena nor Mion had moved an inch. It wasn't just a split forehead and a trickle of blood, nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that had told me it didn't end with just 2 or 3 strikes.
死んじまったのか? 二人とも.
The depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. What happened to your usual calm self? I've been wondering that for like 10 episodes. Come on now. Do like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once, twice, breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. I don't think I'd be able to do that, to be honest. Ah, yes, clarity has returned to the room. Color came back to my vision and smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remembered what happened when I blacked out. So what did happen? And what time? Okay, this time, okay. Because there's also the blackout that we did earlier. Rena and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the same symptoms as Tomitake-san. But right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Rena as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through with my spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. It was soft. Rena tried jumping on me, so I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat that was left carelessly by the side of my desk. So we hella just... At that moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recorded past this point in the videotape of my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just the other me inside me had told me not to look and had turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off, the video was still playing. The tape within me creaking along, still playing. On the other end of that pitch blank screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Damn. Compared to this though, the scene right before my eyes, was still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls, the two of them in these unnatural poses. Not a sign of movement from them. I couldn't even tell if they were breathing. They probably aren't. Let's be real. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. I may have even killed them. No, we did kill them. But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out on my imaginary scale, it felt odd that I'd even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive, this was justifiable self-defense. Yeah, I'm sure the police will definitely see it as that. The proof was all here. The two of them collapsed here on Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomitake-san. And from the fact that both of these two were involved, they'd be able to pick out the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this, but that was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into the darkness like Rena's past incidents. My only concern here is, Oh, actually, I have two concerns. One, is this even real? And two, isn't there a director that's coming? As long as the police were involved, that should bring this to a close. They'll probably revisit their investigation on the chain of incidents. Oishi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Oh, I'm sure he will. Meaning my wish of not wanting to die, of wanting to know the truth, that would be fulfilled in its most basic form. It was all a matter of time now. The Dr. Rena called should be getting here soon. Yeah, I wouldn't bank on that. I'll confess everything to him. I needed to contact Oishi-san. I have a hugely bad feeling here. At that moment I remembered. Besides the doctor, a director had been called. It was easy to imagine that there was someone deeply involved with the incidents, judging from Rena and Mion's conversation. The ache in my chest caused by the gruesome deed I'd done dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maibara. It's not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment, I felt like I heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean there was more than one person. What's going on outside? I moved the curtain ever so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They very much resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me at the dam site today. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person there wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to open the front door, pretend to be a doctor to get me to open the door, and then the rest of them would all rush in at once. At that moment, I saw the car parked behind the men, and my heart nearly skipped a beat. That's the van. Yep, the white van. We're gonna die for real now. We're gonna go join Mion and Rena in hell. No mistaking it. That van, the one that had tried to run me down? The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend that I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they'd just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somehow. Then use a public phone to contact Oishi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I need a weapon. Then shoes. But before all of that, there was one thing that I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of Oyashiro-sama. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that was why there was one more important thing than getting out of here right now. Are we gonna put the syringe? Wait, I need to get that clock out quickly and take down the note hidden behind it. Damn it. The tape was sticking to it fast. It'd be fine if it was torn a little. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. If I wasn't able to inform Oishi-san, then the only thing I could rely on was this note. I'd never thought a piece of torn college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was the undeniable fact. I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help lead them to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the director. To begin with, the term director didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the directors from the past incidents, then the only one is the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim in the chain of events. Or incidents, killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death. But Rena and Mion did both call him director. They said director. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Could that be some sort of oversight? I didn't know. But even if I didn't know, It could be a big hint for Oishi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of the string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then there must be something hidden there. Please reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. But was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah, there's something even more important I needed to write. Tomitake-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right, that drug. It was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave the vital clue lying on the floor. This syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe onto the back of the clock with plenty of tape, so it would absolutely not slip out and fall to the floor. Firmly. The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore, but even still, there was one last thing I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. This may be the closest thing to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though you may or may not find my body. If I was going to write everything that could happen, either dying from the curse, or being demoned away. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. Alright, let's go get killed. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note, stuck it back onto the back of the clock, and returned the clock back to its usual spot. Another ding-dong gonna come up here? I couldn't help but pray. Oishi-san, Oishi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Rena and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Rena, Mion.
俺、みんなのこと、本当に友達だと思ってたんだぜ。
Oh yeah, me too, dog, me too. Sorry, I just really needed a drink of water. There's just so much talking. Like, so much going on here. Why did it have to end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying, in competitions, in personal records, and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them, but they wouldn't stop. Excuse me, even if they were after my life, even if they were trying to kill me, everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. Until we die, then we'll forget everything. Or could it be those happy days were all a facade as well? Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until today to ensnare me? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Rena and Mion, they really were my friends. Those happy days, there was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try and kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Rena and Mion, they were the best friends ever. And when they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. But they weren't the kind of person to sell off their friends, no matter what means were employed to force them. And there was no way such a thing as being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. Then did the real Rena and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Rena and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake. Only the reality that was before me. Rena and Mion were sprawled out at my feet, And that was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit, that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how much I spun, or how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Rena and Mion were both dead. It felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Rena and Mion. I killed them. Yes, we did. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly, I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. The identity of whoever or whatever had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass. I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. Hey, I doubt it. I strongly doubt it. I killed Rena for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far to just keep living. So I can't die. For my sake and for the sake of the late Rena and Mion. I have to survive. I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again as if to urge me on. Behind the single solitary door, they were there. So, we going out the back or something? Something I want to bring up before I forget it. This whole, back and forth that Keiichi has been having with, whether or not Oyashiro-sama exists. He keeps on throwing out ideas that, Oyashiro-sama is to blame, but also that he doesn't exist. I feel like, yeah, he is just trying to contradict himself, so whatever story sounds better and makes him, at the end feel better about his actions or what's occurring around him. Another way that I could put it is that he's losing his mind. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen. Headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly as to not make a sound. And now we're gonna try and run. But that's gonna happen. A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, setting my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keiichi. I hope we brought the bat with us. Alright, let's go through the forest again. Not a bad idea. One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being was just wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever. So, of course, I wouldn't feel fatigue. Where the hell are we going? I just ran. Just recklessly rushing in the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was headed. Turning around, I felt a presence next to me. That presence was without a doubt chasing me like a shadow. If I took even one misstep, I would be devoured. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran at full speed. But what's going on here? Damn, I swear, these transitions are like really misleading. That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening. Man, we hear these Higurashi all the time. That's what this is. Trying to tell me something, and then I finally heard it, the wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Probably. That sort of seems like the direction we're going in. I hate to say it. Only the Higurashi knew. They knew everything. They definitely knew. So I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But the farther I ran, the farther away their chirping became. I couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? Then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I think we get it here. I think we have a general idea of what's going on there. I felt that only the Higurashi knew. I can't wait to die. That's another... Wow, Jesus Christ. How much more is there left? I mean, we're gonna have to get to the end of this. This has to be the last episode. I'm curious as to, how this is gonna end, when it's gonna end. we got an achievement. That's something. The smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down this corridor where the sun didn't even reach? I recalled hearing that the tax revenue from tobacco was about a tenth of the municipality's revenue. Probably said that wrong, excuse me. We were the most heavily taxed members of this, what is this? Municipality? I'm gonna go with that. So I really wish they'd show us a little more respect.
どうしてこれがウーマン切りなんすか?
I think this man is somebody I predicted would come up later.
街が狭くなっちゃうっすよ。
One of the younger detectives was having a staring contest with the mahjong magazine called Next Turn.
ウーマン切ってもテンパイ崩れませんから、背底にかけるなら両面で受けた方がチャンスあるんじゃないですか?
クマちゃん、川を見てください。ウーマンは全員切ってますから安牌なんですよ。終盤で K 点に走った誰かがダマで待ってたら嫌でしょ?
The kid let out another groan, put out his cigarette, and then took out another one.
納得いかないっすね。わざわざ自分で当たり牌減らすなんて。
ちなみに背底で当たり牌出しても論しちゃダメですよ。
どうしてですか?
Just then I heard a voice coming from down the hall.
大石さん、いますか? 一般の方から凱旋です。
ありゃ、こりゃどうも。それじゃ、ちょいと失礼。
So we were able to get to a phone?
どうして論しちゃダメなんすか? 待ってくださいよ、大石さん!
The man sitting in the seat Oshi-san was heading towards waved at the telephone receiver.
凱旋です。講習から。
どうもすいません。お待たせしました。大石です。もしもし。
大石さんですか。もしもし。
前原さんじゃありませんか。どうもどうも、こんにちは。
From the tone Maibara-kun's voice, I already knew he was in a predicament. This was the first time Maibara-kun had phoned me, and he was calling from a payphone.
落ち着いてください。何がありました？
His voice was erratic over the line. He had completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him in a hushed tone.
何があったんです？落ち着いて前原さん。
Yeah, what is happening
今
here?
そこに近場の警官を行かせます。私もすぐそっちに行きますよ。
多分無理です。
His voice was quivering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he? He might be.
前原さんは今公衆電話からかけてますよね。どこの公衆電話ですか?
There were no other sounds besides Maibara-kun's voice. It had to be a phone booth. I scratched out a note and thrust it at my colleague sitting across from me. Hinamizawa phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started on the internal lines.
落ち着いて前原さん。今どういう状況なんです?
It was best practice to avoid flustering someone panicking, but this was an urgent case. Maibara-kun didn't just get in trouble, get away and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Maibara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. Maibara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that. And whatever that was, if I didn't get it from this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one booth in Hinamizawa. A patrol car is on the way. 5 minutes.
かかりすぎです。警らには何人乗ってます？
2人です。
Not enough. If it was as I imagined, there were likely quite a few people surrounding Maibara-kun. 5 minutes was too long.
南沢の駐在さんには電話しました。
定時巡回の時間です。家人は留守で連絡不能。
くそ。熊ちゃん、車を回してください。
了解っす。
もしもし、大石さん。
Oh shit.
もしもし、大丈夫です。 ちゃんと聞こえてますよ。
There was something wrong with Maibara-kun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Or was it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured?
前原さん、今そこに警官が向かってます。2、3分で到着しますからなんとか持ちこたえてください。もしもし、聞こえてますか前原さん。
I could hear on the other end of the line that he was having a coughing fit. The worst possible situation popped into my head.
前原さん、犯人は誰です？何人なんです？
俺も最初は人間が犯人なんだと思いました。
I couldn't tell if it was a cough or vomiting.
大丈夫ですか前原さん。
犯人は人間なんだって。お社様のたたりなんかないんだって。ついさっきまで。だけどやっぱり。
It was an intense bout of coughing, then vomiting.
でもやっぱりお社様ってのはいるんだと思います。いや、います。今。
前原さん、どうか落ち着いて。
なんかさっきからおかしいと思ってたんです。ずーっとつけてくるんですよ。走っても走っても走っても走っても影みたいにぴったりくっついて。
Maybe that incident that took place in the front of his house, could be a little connected to this.
だけど少しずつ俺の背中ににじり寄ってくるんです。
前原さん、そいつは今ひょっとして前原さんの後ろに
すぐ後ろに。
お願いです。前原さん、怖いのはわかりますですがお願いです。あなたの後ろに誰がいるんです？
振り向けるわけないじゃないですか。振り向いたら俺。
怖いのはわかります。でも教えてほしい。ちょっと振り返るだけでいいんです。前原さんの後ろに誰がいるんです？
Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound.
前原さん、あんたまさか喉を引っかいてたりはしないでしょうね。
Oh, there was no answer. But I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang as if someone or something was being hit. Maibara-kun had probably dropped the receiver. I could hear groaning and vomiting over on the other end and a repeating abnormal noise.
もしもし前原さん、もしもし。
I knew how far away my voice would sound on the other end, but I couldn't help but shout. At that moment, I heard whispering coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. From the way he was saying it, was he talking to himself? Or was he talking to someone there?
もしもし前原さん。
Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused my senses, trying to pick up what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? A beep. Suddenly the line was dead. Damn. Did he use up his time? It was because of it was a payphone. Yeah. It was because it cut out so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind.
おいさん、車 OK っす。おいさん。
ごめんなさい。
おいさん。
That's what he was repeating over and over. He said, I'm sorry. I had a gut feeling. There was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the chirp of the Higurashis spilling in from the open window. I should have been able to hear him this entire time. Or them this entire time. I just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them all of a sudden? The Higurashi are definitely, symbolic here. Like, obviously they're in the name, but just quite literally. Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. That's how I felt. Is that it? Is that our end? I think that might be it, boys. Nope. June 1983. In Hinamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City, there was a murder involving 2 female students. The suspect is Keiichi Maibara, age somewhere in the teens. The suspect hauled over his 2 female classmates, Rena Ryugu, Mio, and Sonozaki, to his house and then beat him to death with a metal bat. The scene of the crime was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. The inside of the room was covered with a significant quantity of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, and kitchen all had traces of a struggle. At the entryway, the shoe rack and wall had evidence of being impacted by a strong blunt force. It is believed to have been the same bat as the murder weapon. Having no traces of blood, it is believed the destruction occurred before the murders. There is the possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back and then thrown aside. It is hard to believe that this had a connection to the struggle with the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart and its contents were spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about in the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed that the suspect had for some reason taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. The words, "Was there a needle?" were written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. Interesting. Though the garage door was functional, had been left open ever since the suspect moved in, the garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer, Hinamizawa local PD, found the suspect collapsed inside a phone booth. At the time of the discovery, the suspect was unconscious in critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. The results of the autopsy indicate the immediate cause of death to have been hypovolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed at his own throat with his fingernails, and the resulting bleeding caused his death. With the similarity to the death of Tomitake-san the prior week, the police believe there to be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of the local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. Due to the abnormal nature of the death, it was suspected that drugs were involved, but as with Tomitake-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, this case is being treated as an act committed on impulse. However, with several accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it is possible that this was premeditated, separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior. Several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was observed displaying aggressive behavior as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have actually heard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, the police have begun an investigation on the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse, but was instead planned several days in advance. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that he had written himself, so it was found. The note was written on 2 sheets of B5 college-ruled notebook that had each been torn in half, as if trying to conceal it. It was stuck hidden behind a clock on the wall. The contents are written in the appendix. The police believe it to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility that the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear and no further developments, the case has been labeled as unresolved. Well, shit. However, the following year, suspicion arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on 2 halves of B5 paper from 2 separate sheets, but was originally a single sheet of B5 paper. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section is estimated to be 2 to 3 lines. It is highly probable that the person who eliminated the lines in question is not the suspect. In addition, judging it from traces of large quantities of cellophane tape being stuck to the back of the clock, speculation that something other than the note was stuck there has arisen. The person who first discovered the crime was a detective rumored to have a connection with the incident Oshi-san. Yes, Oshi-san. He underwent voluntary questioning, who denies involvement in any damages to the note. The suspect's note: I, Keiichi Maibara, am in fear for my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Yashiro-sama's curse. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This is all on the first sheet. The section below this has been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. The section above this has been ripped out. I have no idea why it has become like this. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead, though you may or may not find my body. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. This is my only desire. Keiichi Maibara. I actually kind of forgot about what else he wrote that's no longer there. Okay, now I think we're at the end. God damn. I gotta get a swig of that H2O after that one. A new scenario has been unlocked, which we will now jump into, because I was recommended to jump into it. It is the all-cast review session, not section, sorry. Damn, not even credits, huh? Alright. But we did get an achievement. Let us go into the extra menu, which I believe is brand spanking new. We can jump chapters, the all-cast review session, and then tips. We can't view the CGs because I think those were added along with the 07th mod. So they're kind of separate. They're their own thing, I believe. But let us jump into the all-cast review session to wrap up Chapter 1. I guess this is just something a little silly.
はい、日暮らしの泣く頃に水、鬼隠しをプレイされた皆さん、お疲れ様でした。
Silly by the actors themselves, whatever else. Yeehaw. Also, if you guys didn't watch the first episode, I think I talked about it there. I actually didn't buy this. The creators or producers or whoever is putting this out on Steam, they decided to put this out for free for as long as the pandemic is going on globally. I think that's the deal. And, well, it's still going on. I decided to cop it because I didn't know how long they were going to do that. And if anything, it's a really good way to get people into this because I'm hooked. I'm not going to lie, I am pretty interested in this.
いかがだったでしょうか。
Man, it was scary.
ちょっぴりでも楽しんでもらえたらとっても嬉しいです。ちょっぴりも何も。あんなすごいバッドエンドで終わられたらプンプンでございますことよ。
I wouldn't say it made me angry. I kind of expected it. You know, we're not going to get a conclusion right off the bat here in Chapter 1. Things are going to get all fucky. That's just how it is.
プンプンなのです。今回の鬼隠しは全体の謎に挑む人たちが最初に通るお話。だから実質上のプロローグの位置づけなんだって。
Makes sense.
そのプロローグがこんな凄まじいバッドエンドでございますの？
でもそういうのってあるじゃん。この最悪のバッドエンドを回避するためにプレイヤーさんが物語を模索していくのがこの作品の醍醐味だし。
まだ始まったばかりですよ。僕は次のお話が楽しみなのです。
これからどんな話が待ち受けてるんだろう。レナは聞いてる？
今回はレナをパートナーに選んだ物語だったけど、他にもみーちゃん、さとこちゃんをパートナーに選んだお話もあるみたいだね。他のシナリオにはどんな展開があるんですの？今回の鬼隠しでは ひなみ沢で近年起こった連続開始事件が紹介されたでしょ。例えばみーちゃんのシナリオではひなみ沢の古い歴史なんかが紹介されるんだって。
Which I think will be completely necessary based on some of the things that happened there at the end.
異常事態の連続ですっかり分かんなくなっちゃったけど、お社様のたたりってどういうものなのか。いや、そもそもお社様って何なのかあまり説明なかったからね。
よくは聞いてないんだけど、でもなんか嫌な予感。
Yeah, just a slight bad feeling there.
またしてもたたられそうな嫌な物語です。
ケイちゃんも大変だね。
Yeah, tough luck, huh?
今度はどんなたたりにやられるやら。
でもどんなお話になるのか楽しみでございますわね。
いやいやいやいや、遅れてすみませんね。
I guess we're including other actors.
やあみんな、
Tomitake-san back from the dead for the extra session.
お疲れ様。
お疲れ。あれ、ケイちゃんは？
ケイチ君はもう次のシナリオの台本読みに行っちゃってるんだよ。主人公だから大変だね。
あれ、残念ですね。ちょっとだけでも顔を出してくれればよかったのに。きっと喋るワード数が多すぎて居残りなのです。
Bro, I had way too many lines for the narration, Jesus.
そりゃフルデさん仕方がありませんよ。前原さんのセリフだけで普通のアドベンチャーゲームなら全員分の量がありますからね。
しかしケイチ君やレナちゃんなんか特にだけど大変なお話だったね。
You don't say.
大変も何も大体バッドエンドでございますわ。結局ケイチ君を襲ったのって正体は何なんだろう。
たたりに見せかけておいて実は人間の仕業ってのが僕の推理なんだけどね。
That is the theory that I would like to stick with. But unfortunately...
でもケイチは最後に謎の電話をかけてきていましたのです。
うん、私もあの電話は変だと思ったね。あの時点でケイちゃんは犯人は人間だと確信してたはずなのにさ。
おかしな電話でしたわよね。なんかお化けに追いかけられてるみたいな。あの電話だけだとやっぱり犯人って人間じゃなくてたたりなのかなって思っちゃうよね。
せっかくですから意見を出してみようじゃありませんか。
Why not?
じゃあ園崎さんから。
Okay, actually, before we get into all that, I should probably share what I think first before I get, persuaded more by what other people are saying here. I actually don't even know what to think. I'm honestly at a loss. If anything, what was really cool is they gave us the perspective of the outside, kind of like how the other cases were. We didn't really know what went on there, especially with Tomitake-san. We were just believed that he, went crazy, got attacked, tried to fight back, failed, and then clawed out his own throat. Something happened. Obviously, he probably got injected with a drug that we didn't know much about. Or did he? Could it have been Oyashiro-sama? That's what I don't know, because as far as I can tell, Keiichi wasn't injected with the drug. Unless maybe he was injected a little bit, and he was able to fight back before he went, totally insane. I don't know, but he eventually lost his mind. I think that's definitely what occurred. He was trying to claw out his throat. So I don't think he was murdered per se directly, but indirectly probably. That drug, the being brought up as a director or an antagonist being the director or whatever. I don't know. There's so much to kind of consider, but yeah, let's hear what all the quote unquote actors have to say.
私は絶対に人間説。 Hinamizawa の怪しい昔語りかなんかになぞらえて誰かが起こしてる人為的事件だと思うね。
Yeah, but how does that explain, what was happening to Keiichi? Constantly, thinking that there was like somebody stuck to him, like a shadow or something, especially there at the end. It could just be him, losing his mind, or, when he smashed the shoebox or whatever.
確かに
I think there was more to it.
毎年お祭りの日になると起こる連続開始事件なんて怪しいもんね。
その連続開始っていうのも何かの昔語りの再現なんだよきっと。
私はたたりだと思いましたよ。玄関で圭一さんが暴れたシーンとかラストの電話のシーンとかを見れば人間が犯人では説明がつきませんもの。そういえばそうだよね。とても人間の仕業とは思えないシーンだったし。
僕はそれでも人間が犯人だと思うね。あの玄関やラストのシーンは追い詰められた圭一君の被害意識からの妄想じゃないかって思うんだ。
難しい言葉を使われても分かりませんわ。つまり怖がりの圭一が見た幻だと言ってるのです。じゃああのシーンの正体は圭一さんの後ろにいた謎の気配は何なんですの？
引っ掛けだよ、引っ掛け。
みーちゃん、引っ掛けってどういう意味？
I mean, it could have been Rena, and then she like hella dipped out whenever he was about to swing his bat at her. I don't know.
富武のおじさまが言うようにさ、あのシーンは追い詰められたケイちゃんの被害妄想のシーンなんだよ。それを濃密に書くことでプレイヤーにたたりだと思わせようとする演出なんだよ。
No, even I was thinking that he was losing his mind, and this was all just in his head. All that, pushing him into a corner shit was making him, hysterical.
だから引っ掛けってわけ。
それを言われると、でも
まあそういう可能性もあるってことだよ。
だとすると犯人は複数で村ぐるみっていう劇中の大石さんの推理は正しいのかな。当の本人の大石さんはどう思いますか？
私ですか？悩みますね。
あれ？僕はてっきり大石さんは人間説だと思ってましたけど。
劇中の私は犯人は人間だと断じてますが、人間が犯人だとするといろいろ不可解なことが多いんですよ。
例えばどんな？大石刑事さんの推理を聞かせてください。
まず人間が犯人だとすると絶対に動機が必要なんです。
Everyone's an asshole. There you go.
こういうことをして誰が得をするのかってことなんです。
つまりおじさま、人間が犯人なら連続開始事件を起こすことによって誰かが得をしなくちゃいけないってこと？
そういうことです。ダム開発の関係者が死ぬうちは利害も感じられましたが、近年の犠牲者はそれとも無縁です。第一、前原さんを殺して誰が得をするというんです？
なるほど。そう言われると僕も弱いな。
だってお金とかも取られてはいないんですもの。人間が犯人なわけありませんわ。でもそうとばかりは限らないんじゃない？さっきみーちゃんが言ったように何かの昔語りの再現そのものに意味があるんだとしたら。
そういうこと。これは営利殺人じゃないんだよ。きっとこれは村の血塗られた歴史を再現するための何らかの儀式的殺人じゃないかなって思うわけ。
Honestly, that whole ritualistic murder shit, it kind of correlates with what I was saying earlier. It kind of felt like a cultist act was going to take place. you know, somebody dressed up as a doctor and everything, a group of people. It sort of seemed like there was like a cult thing going on, so that could be kind of connected.
では聞きますですが、それを再現すると誰か得をするのですか？
得をするんじゃなくて、もっと心理的なもの。僕は何かの復讐じゃないかと思うね。土着的な何か。今回のシナリオでは語られなかった因縁だよ。
なるほど。過去にひどい扱いを受けた暴家の人たちが先祖の恨みを晴らすためにってな感じですか？私はそれにも反対ですね。
じゃあ何？大石さんはまさかたたり派なわけ？
そうですわそうですわ。刑事役の大石さんが言うんですもの。たたりに決まってますわ。
劇中で前原さんが言うように、お社様が竜宮さんや園崎さんに乗り移って悪さをしているって考えると一番辻褄が合うんです。
Their split personality thing was a little concerning, and I would not be surprised if Soroko and Rena were very similar, and if we see similar acts or behaviors from them in further chapters. I don't want to see it, but I feel like something occurs with some of the villagers, if not all the villagers of Hinamizawa. It could be psychological, yeah.
残念ながら
It'll all just be in the head, who knows? Or there could really be a cultist thing going on.
実はレナも大石さんと同じ意見なの。あんなに優しかったレナやミーちゃんが突然おかしくなるなんて、そうじゃなきゃ説明つかないもの。
そこはミオンの私が言うのも変だけど、やっぱり私なんだと思う。
ミーの話の意味が分かりにくいのですよ。説明が欲しいのです。
ああ、ごめん。つまりさ、これってすっごく残酷な話なんじゃないかって思うんだよ。
何ミーちゃん、それってひょっとして。
突き詰めるとそうなるのかな。僕もちょっと疑ってる。
つまり竜宮さんも園崎さんも実は本当にああいう性格で引っ越してきたばかりの前原さんを騙している悪魔なんだと。
I don't want to believe that, but I can understand that point of view.
こういうわけですか？
そんなの嫌ですわ。ふわー、これは全部たたりの仕業なんですのよ。レナさんもミオさんもみんな優しいいい人がいいのですの。レナもそうだな。レナやミーちゃんって本当にいい人なんだって思う。きっと劇中で出てきた厳しいシーンは何かに取りつかれてたんだって思うの。
レナもたたり派か。じゃあたたり派の皆さんにお聞きしますけどさ、たたりが起こるからにはそれなりの理由があるんでしょ？無差別にたたるとは思えないな。そこんとこ説明できるの？
たたりはたたりですもの。人間の考えでは想像もつきませんわ。
Gotta think outside the box, huh?
さとこちゃん、擬人化された神様という存在は結局は人間の生み出したものなんだよ。だからその考え方も人間に理解できるようにできてる。ギリシャ神話の神様を見てごらんよ。泣いたり怒ったり嫉妬したり、とにかく人間的なんだよ。
つまりお社様もまた人間同様に何らかの利害に基づいてたたりをしているということですか？
変な言い方になっちゃったけど、つまりはそういうこと。
触らぬ神にたたりなしって言いますからね。な一理あります。
つまり お社様にせよ人間にせよ何か理由があるはずということなのです。
And that reason we don't know.
でもリカ、その理由がはっきりしないならどうなりますの？つまりはわかんないということなのです。そうだね。まだプロローグだもんね。明かされていないことがたくさんあるだろうし。
True that, dog.
そうだね。現時点ではこれ以上の推理は難しいね。
いんにゃ、白黒つけないと納得できないな。
ミオンさんもこだわりますのね。
限られた状況で最大限に推理する。ちょっぴり部活感覚で面白いでしょ。
そう考えれば面白いかも。
じゃあ整理してみましょうか。
Tight.
私はたたり派です。富武さんは人間派でしたよね。
ええ、僕は人間が犯人ってことでいきます。
That's 1 to 1.
私も人間犯人説。
That's 1 to 2.
もちろんタタリというファンタジーは嫌いじゃないよ。だけど今回の事件に限ってはタタリの線は薄いね。
人間派が2人出ましたね。リュグさんはたたり派でしたよね。
はい。レナとサトコちゃんはたたり派です。
So that's 3 to 2.
たたり派ですわよ。レナさんやミオンさんのことを悪魔みたいに言う人の方がよっぽどたたりに合うべきですの。
そりゃあまあ、私も自分のキャラがそんな悪魔みたいなやつだとは思いたくないけどさ。部活モードの時にはクールでなきゃ。感情論だけで選ぶと大やけどするよ。
まあまあ、どっちを選んだっていいじゃないですか。
あれ、リカちゃんがまだだね。どっちだと思う？僕はお社様が悪い神様だとは思わないですよ。
あれ、面白い意見だね。
たたってばかりの悪い神様なら祀るのは嫌なのです。僕はたたるよりご利益のある神様の方が好きなのですよ。そっか、リカちゃんって巫女さんをやってるんだよね。
Well, also think about this. If there's something to be gained, a reason for the acts committed by people or a Yashiro, let's say there is a curse. The deity is able to do some things if you worship it and you do these ritualistic shit. What if by doing so good fortune is brought to the people who participate, or for the village as a whole? That would be more of an incentive for the village to work as, one entity, right? But that's taking into account that both people and the curse are to be at fault here, which is kind of what I'm leaning with. I'm kind of in the middle. Again, really not much information here.
いい意見。
じゃあ何？リカちゃんはお社様じゃないって思うなら、やっぱ犯人は人間って思うわけ？
そういうことにしますのです。
That's 3 and 3.
ありゃまあ、票がざっくり分かれましたね。たたり派と人間派で半々ですか。
Okay, well, I guess this is extra dialogue. Rena-chan, just for reference, what did the test players who played the beta version think? Yeah. There were a lot more players who believed in the people explanation. See, right there. Our veteran comrades are cool, collected, and very observant. But the beta version only finished partway through the story. That's right. Even the people who played the beta might change their minds if they got through to the very end.
どうすんのさ。これじゃ意見は半々。決着がつかなくて面白くないよね。
裁判官が奇数なのはつまりそういうことだからね。あと一人意見が欲しいな。
あ、ならちょうどいいかな。圭 イチくん本人に聞いてみない？電話で。たたり殺された本人の意見は貴重ですよ。そうと決まれば早速電話ですわ。
Well, that was gonna be like the whole, alright, let's ask the player and see what they think.
もしもし、ケイチくん、レナです。今お仕事お忙しいですか？
ああ、忙しいぞ。シナリオが1本終わって一休みって思ってたらすぐに次のシナリオだもんな。
ケイちゃんどんな感じ？忙しいって？
うん、拗ねてる。
聞こえてるぞ、こら。お前ら打ち上げ会でいいよな。俺も出たかった。
収録の残りゼリフ数で僕たちの誰か一人でも抜いたらケイチも参加できるのですよ。リカ、あの量でそれは不可能ですわ。あ、それでごめんね、ケイチくん。今回のシナリオでね、ケイチくん、死んじゃったじゃない？犯人は誰だろうねってそういう話をしてるの。
つまりさ、ケイちゃんを殺したのは人間かお社様のたたりかってことで意見が分かれちゃってるのよ。
本当にごめんね。台本読みで忙しいところ。ケイチくんはどっちだと思うかな？
そんなの決まってんじゃねえか。
どっち？
どっちなんてもんじゃねえよ。
Hey, there we go.
裏の怪しげな奴らに狙われて、さらにお社様とかいう怪しいのにたたられて、人間もたたりも全部、これは何かの嫌がらせか。
かわいそかわいそです。今度頭をなでなでしてあげますですよ。
Should have expected that.
結局意見が分かれちゃったね。
私ももう一度考え直してみます。見落としがあるかもしれませんので。
That is very
それでは
possible.
引き続き、日暮らしの泣く頃に水をお楽しみくださいね。
Ah, the next chapter is Watanagashi, the name that I kept fucking up. Okay. Tight. I think that was the first visual novel. Yeah, definitely the first visual novel I've played that had like a chapter like that, an extra chapter where the actors are kind of just talking about, quote unquote actors, talking about what they acted in. That was pretty cool. And I think I got all the achievements too. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to check. I'd be sad if I didn't. I'm pretty sure I did everything. Well, guys, that'll end it. This was Chapter 1 of Higurashi When They Cry. No credits scene or anything, it looks like, which is kind of unfortunate. I like to roll the credits so the names of those that worked on this could be, you know, very visible. But from my understanding, not too many people worked on the original, which I can't remember when that came out, but it was many, many years ago, probably around when I was born, so it didn't look as fantastic as other visual novels that we tend to play or read through today. But story-wise, it was very excellent, and I cannot wait to experience more of it. And, you know, that's how you hear about Higurashi is, you know, horror aside, is the story. You know, the story is definitely there, and it is probably top tier in a way. I like the characters, I really do, and I regretted not enjoying the peaceful moments in the beginning of this game because things really went like down a scary and horrifying turn pretty quickly. It's like I started playing something entirely different, and I kind of felt the same way with Doki Doki Literature Club, but more in an actual plot direction and not more of the game is literally breaking on you to kind of draw a point sort of deal. Doki Doki is really the only other scary visual novel, quote-unquote scary, that I've ever touched, so that's really my only comparison, and that's why I brought it up before. But this definitely takes the cake and, you know, kind of making you think, kind of immersing you. The environment, the setting, everything that's going on is what started to spook me I kind of got used to it and it didn't spook me as much. I was kind of expecting a lot of the creepiness to come around. Getting chased is what really frightened me there at the end, I will admit. But whenever things definitely got a little spooky, you know, past all the, you know, hearing of deaths and this curse and everything, that little, I guess it all kind of started with that little jump scare from Rena when we first saw that other side of her. That's when I started to realize that, wait a minute, hold on, what's going on here? This isn't just some peaceful game where you only hear about events. We're about to experience some events. So this was definitely really good, and I think I was recommended to try it out many years ago or throughout the years. I've gotten a lot of recommendations that I tend to, you know, fall back on, and I always do a little bit of research in regards to a visual novel or a game that I want to play. And I wanted something that wasn't too terribly long, and obviously this is only the first chapter of a long series, so we're only really scratching the surface. But I do want to record more. I definitely do. I enjoyed my test run of this, my free test run, and I guess now I'll have to shill out a couple dollars or so to get the next one. I think there's actually a sale going on for Halloween, so maybe I'll pick up the next chapter for $4 off of the regular price of $8. So I'm ready to go for whenever I want to record this again. I don't know when I will record Chapter 2, but I would like to. I do have that as a plan. I'm currently finishing up some other things, so we'll see how that all goes. But thank you all for joining me. Thank you for joining me on this this little journey here. This was definitely different from the normal stuff that I record, especially in terms of visual novels here on the channel. So definitely appreciate you guys being patient with me and joining me for my first ride through Higurashi. I'm glad that this was my spooky game of the year. I try to do a little spookiness for Halloween, obviously, and I didn't intend for this to be the spooky game of the year because I started recording this back in September to try it out, but it eventually kind of turned into being that. And I also didn't intend to kind of cram a lot of the rest of this into long episodes here at the end, but I wanted to get this out for Halloween to, I guess, kind of solidify that, hey, yeah, this is the spooky stuff that I'm doing this year. And of course, I'll probably do some, a little bit of Christmassy related stuff coming up to Christmas, or just play one game again, one silly game that I can find. It's always the end of the year when I get a little bit into the festivities, but thank you all for joining me. Thank you for watching my playthrough of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 1, Onikakashu, if that is how you pronounce that, and I'm pretty sure that's what the name is, to be demoned away. What a fitting name. So I'm under the impression that the next chapter will more involve the actual festival, and if I remember correctly from the art, the banner art that they have for the chapters, the next one will probably involve Mion. If this one involved Rena and she was on the cover, the next one will probably involve Mion. And if the next one is about the history a little bit more, it is kind of fitting with Mion's family background. So that'll be really exciting, and I hope that you guys will stick around and be ready to watch that and join me for that journey. But if you enjoyed this playthrough and would like to check out any other stuff that I have going on here on the channel, you can leave a like, subscribe, again, if you'd like to check out what else I'm doing. And there's also a Discord if you want to stay in contact and chill and whatever else that you can do in Discord. I stream on Twitch here and there whenever I'm not busy with school and work like how I currently am. So there's all that. I think I covered everything. I love doing these long outros, just like how I love doing my long intros. Thank you again for joining me for Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 1, and I will see you guys in Chapter 2. Take it easy. And again, if you're watching this as the video has come out, have a happy Halloween.